20 games. Whether you just picked up a Switch or grabbed a Switch 2 at launch, this list covers the absolute best AAA experiences you can get your hands on, from party nights to open worlds to survival horror. Let's get into it. Super Mario Party Jamboree. You roll dice, move across a board, collect coins, buy stars, and try to sabotage everyone else in the room. That's the core loop, and it works as well as it ever has. But Jamboree layers on new stuff that actually changes how you play. Jamboree buddies are characters you can recruit mid-game by winning a quick showdown, and once they're on your side, they give you a special ability and trigger any space you land on twice. 7 boards, 22 playable characters, and over 110 minigames means there's a ton to dig into. The Switch 2 edition added even more through Jamboree TV new modes that use the camera and Joy-Con 2 mouse controls in ways that feel genuinely fresh. It got a little mixed on the online front, but as a couch party game, nothing on Switch does it better. Bayonetta 3. You play mostly as Bayonetta, but also as Viola, a punk newcomer with her own fighting style, and John, who gets completely different 2D side-scrolling sections. The combat is fast, stylish, and deep. Witch Time, where dodging at the last second slows everything down, is back and still feels incredible. The big new thing here is Demon Slave Bayonetta can summon massive demons, and you directly control them while she stands vulnerable in the background. It's a risky, powerful mechanic that rewards practice. Every weapon is tied to its own demon with a full skill tree, so there's a lot to master. The game can get wild with how many things are happening at once, but if you're into action games that reward skill and style, Bayonetta 3 delivers that in a way almost nothing else does. Fire Emblem Three Houses is a strategy RPG set at a military academy called Garreg Monastery. You're a professor hired to teach one of 3 student houses, the Black Eagles, the Blue Lions, or the Golden Deer, and each house tells the story from a completely different angle. Outside of battle, you spend time building relationships with your students, exploring the monastery, and making choices that shape how the story unfolds. In battle, you position units on a grid, manage weapon durability, and think carefully about class matchups. The Gambits system lets your battalions stun groups of enemies, which adds a tactical layer earlier entries didn't have. The story goes to some genuinely dark places depending on the path you pick, and the characters are well written enough that you actually care what happens to them.
Is that all?
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still the gold standard for kart racers on the original Switch. The physics feel great, the track design is creative, and the item balance is more manageable than most entries. You get 96 courses total, including the full Booster Course Pass DLC, pulling tracks from across the entire Mario Kart history. Battle mode is fully fleshed out, with multiple arenas and modes. Anti-gravity sections let you drive on walls and ceilings while bouncing off other racers for speed boosts. It's easy to pick up for newcomers and has enough depth in drifting and item management for competitive players to sink serious time into. If you're on the original Switch, this is still essential. Even with Mario Kart World now on Switch 2, there's a reason 8 Deluxe has sold over 65 million copies. It's just a brilliantly put together racing game. Pragmata. You play as Hugh, a spacefarer, and Diana, an android he finds alone on a hostile moon research station. The station's AI has gone rogue. The place is crawling with robots, and the two of them need to find a way back to Earth. The gameplay is a third-person shooter at its core, but Diana's hacking ability changes everything. In combat, Diana hacks enemies through a grid-based puzzle that exposes their weak points. Then, Hugh blasts them while they're open. You're doing 2 things at once, managing Diana's hacking and Hugh's shooting, and it creates a brain-splitting tension unlike most shooters. Exploration has Hugh using thrusters to zip around, while Diana cracks security doors. The relationship between the two carries the story, and while the plot doesn't land every punch it throws, the gameplay is inventive enough to keep you hooked through its full 15-hour runtime. Forgotten Land is Kirby's first proper 3D platformer, and it more than holds its own. You play as Kirby, venturing through a post-apocalyptic world, malls, amusement parks, overgrown highways ruled by a faction called the Beast Pack, who've been kidnapping Waddle Dees. Kirby's copy ability is the heart of the game. Swallow an enemy, steal their power, use it to fight and solve puzzles. The new thing here is Mouthful Mode, where Kirby inhales huge real-world objects, cars, vending machines, traffic cones, and transforms around them to use their properties. It's as funny as it sounds, and it adds real creative punch to the level design. The game has optional challenge rooms and a harder second mode after the main story. Co-op runs throughout the whole game too, making it great to share with someone. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition is a massive JRPG set on the backs of two dead giants, colossal beings frozen mid-battle whose bodies have become continents for civilizations to live on. You play as Shulk, a young mechanic who wields the Monado, a legendary sword that grants visions of the future. He and his friends fight back against a race of mechanical beings called the Mechon after a devastating attack on their home. Combat is real-time but tactical. You position yourself around enemies, auto-attack, and trigger arts from a cooldown bar while managing party aggro and chain attacks. The story is genuinely one of the best in JRPG history, with a scope that keeps expanding in unexpected directions. The Definitive Edition adds a polished epilogue that connects to Xenoblade 2. Commit to its 80+ hours, and it's one of the most deeply rewarding experiences on Switch. Donkey Kong Bananza is DK's return to 3D for the first time since Donkey Kong 64 on the N64, and it goes all in. When an evil corporation called Voidco steals all the Banandium gems from Ingot Isle and the whole place collapses underground, DK gets swept deep beneath the surface. Down there, he meets Pauline, yes, that Pauline, and the two team up to reach the planet's core, where legend says any wish can be granted. The big mechanic is destruction. DK can smash through almost everything with his bare hands. Walls, floors, ceilings. You carve your own paths, uncover secrets, and tear chunks of terrain off to throw at enemies. Pauline's singing triggers Bananza transformations that turn DK into animals with different powers, though they're time-limited, so you use them wisely. Collecting fossils and gems unlocks skills. Each underground lair is a completely new biome with its own rules.
Walls, the ground, and most things you can get your hands on with incredible force. Destruction can lead to discovery.
Link's Awakening is a remake of the classic 1993 Game Boy Zelda, rebuilt with a gorgeous toy box art style that makes everything look like painted figurines. Link washes ashore on Kobolint Island after a storm destroys his ship. To escape, he needs to wake the Windfish, a giant dream creature, by collecting 8 musical instruments hidden across the island's dungeons. The dungeons are the highlight, tightly designed, each with a distinct mechanic and a satisfying boss. The island is full of quirky characters, including a few unexpected cameos from other Nintendo games the original was famous for. The tone is dreamlike and a little melancholy, different from most Zelda games. It runs around 12 to 15 hours, but it's focused and polished. The remake also adds a dungeon creator where you build your own layouts from pre-made rooms. Breath of the Wild. Link wakes up from a 100-year sleep with no memory, immediately handed a paraglider and dropped into Hyrule. The entire world is open from the start. You can go anywhere, try anything, approach every situation however you want. The physics engine is the real star. Fire spreads, wind carries you, lightning hits metal, and you can combine these forces in ways the game never explicitly teaches. Shrines are puzzle rooms across the map, rewarding you with pieces to upgrade stamina and hearts. Weapons break, forcing constant improvisation. The 4 divine beasts work as dungeons, massive mechanical creatures you reclaim to weaken Calamity Ganon. The story unfolds through memory fragments scattered around Hyrule. It's a game you explore at your own pace, and even after hundreds of hours, most players are still finding things they missed. Metroid Prime Remastered is a full visual overhaul of the 2002 GameCube classic, and it looks stunning. You're playing as Samus Aran, an armored bounty hunter exploring the planet Talon 4 after a space pirate distress signal. It's first person, but it's not a shooter. It's an exploration-driven adventure where you scan your environment, solve puzzles, and gradually upgrade your suit to reach previously inaccessible areas. The scan visor reveals enemy weaknesses, environmental lore, and hidden story details if you take the time to read it. Combat requires locking onto enemies and managing beam types and missiles. Boss fights demand you use different visors and abilities to find weaknesses. The atmosphere is dense and isolated, barely any dialogue, just Samus and an alien planet slowly giving up its secrets. Mario Kart World is the most ambitious Mario Kart ever made, and it launched alongside the Switch 2. The whole game takes place on one massive, interconnected world map. Deserts, jungles, neon cities, snowy peaks, all linked without loading screens. Grand Prix races you across connected courses, but the standout mode is Knockout Tour, a point-to-point race across the entire world, where last-place racers get eliminated at each checkpoint. Up to 24 players race at once, which is chaotic in the best way. Rail grinding, wall riding, and charge jumping add real depth. Hitting a rail right gives you a purple turbo boost. Wall riding opens hidden shortcuts. Free roam lets you cruise the world, finding stickers and secrets between races. The roster is massive, and the track variety is genuinely impressive. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade reimagines the opening chapter of one of the most beloved RPGs ever made into a full-scale action RPG. You're Cloud Strife, a mercenary hired by an eco-terrorist group to blow up reactors draining the planet's life force in the city of Midgar. Combat mixes real-time action with a tactical pause. You attack freely, build your ATB gauge, then pause to spend those bars on abilities, spells, and items. Every party member plays completely differently. The story follows the original closely for most of its runtime, but takes its own turns near the end. Intergrade includes a separate episode starring Yuffie, which is some of the best content in the package. Around 4 to 5 hours of tight gameplay and strong character writing. You get both the full remake and the Yuffie episode in one package.
Or go down in flames.
Hell yeah, baby!
Now's our chance. Give it everything you've got.
Super Mario Bros. Wonder is the best 2D Mario in over a decade. You're moving through the Flower Kingdom, where Bowser has fused himself to a castle using a magical Wonder Flower, causing chaos everywhere. Each level plays like standard 2D Mario until you grab a Wonder Seed, and then anything can happen. Pipes come alive and chase you, the camera shifts to top-down, you turn into a Goomba, the level floods with enemies. Every stage has one, and they're all completely different. New power-ups, like the Elephant Fruit, transform Mario into a giant who trunk slams enemies and sprays water. The badge system adds a passive ability to each run, a floating jump, wall run, or extra bounce, giving levels a different feel each time you try them. Co-op supports 4 players, and an online feature shows the ghost of other players' runs in real time. Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition. Getting the full Cyberpunk 2077 experience on a handheld is something nobody expected to work this well. You play as V, a mercenary trying to make a name in Night City, a massive neon-soaked dystopia where megacorporations run everything. The story kicks off with a heist gone wrong that leaves V with a legendary figure from the city's past living inside their head. The RPG systems let you build V as a hacker, a brawler, a sniper, or any combination, and the build variety meaningfully changes how you play. Night City is one of the most detailed open worlds ever built. The Ultimate Edition includes the Phantom Liberty expansion, a spy thriller set in a different district with some of the best writing in the whole package. On Switch 2, it runs at a solid 60 frames in most areas. If you've never played it, this is the version to get.
Gotta keep moving!
Tears of the Kingdom takes Breath of the Wild's Hyrule and adds sky islands above and underground depths below, tripling the explorable space. But the real centerpiece is Ultra Hand and Fuse. Ultra Hand lets you grab and stick objects together to build vehicles, platforms, and machines out of parts found in the world. Fuse lets you attach items to weapons and arrows to change what they do. The creativity this opens up is almost absurd. Players have built functioning hot air balloons, railguns, and vehicles entirely within the game's physics. The story unfolds around a mysterious king from Hyrule's distant past, and a creeping, malevolent force spreading from underground. It's darker in tone than its predecessor. The sages you meet fight alongside you, and each has their own personality. It's a bigger, more complex game in almost every way, and it rewards players who love to experiment freely. Super Mario Odyssey sends Mario to a series of massive, real-world-inspired kingdoms to rescue Peach from Bowser, who's planning the most unnecessary wedding in history. The core mechanic is Cappy, a living hat Mario throws at enemies and objects to possess them. You can become a Goomba, a T-Rex, a tank, a bolt of electricity. Each possession works differently and opens up new areas. The kingdoms are sandbox levels, packed with hidden power moons, hundreds of them, tucked behind puzzles, buried underground, rewarded by NPCs, hidden in plain sight. The controls feel incredible. Every jump, roll, and hat throw is snappy and precise. There's a 2D pixel art section hidden in nearly every kingdom. After the main story, the game opens up significantly with a harder set of challenges. Even years after release, it holds up as one of the tightest, most creative 3D platformers ever made. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is set in a world called Ionios, where two nations are locked in endless war. Soldiers on both sides have a lifespan of exactly 10 years, counted down by a glowing flame on their chest. You follow Noah and Mio, enemies turned allies who discover a truth their world's powers are working hard to keep buried. The Ouroboros mechanic lets pairs of characters fuse into giant, powerful forms mid-battle. You recruit heroes throughout the game who bring class abilities you can then transfer to your main 6 characters, creating a deep and flexible party-building system. The story takes its time to build. This is a game about mortality, purpose, and what it means to live, and it handles those themes better than most games even attempt. Around 80 to 100 hours to see it through properly, and every hour is earned. Pokémon Pokopia is unlike any Pokémon game before it. You play as Ditto, who wakes up in a desolate, post-apocalyptic Pokémon world where humans have vanished and most Pokémon are in hiding. Ditto takes the form of their missing trainer and sets out to rebuild everything from scratch. The core loop is part life sim, part crafting game. You gather resources, build habitats, grow food, and attract wild Pokémon back to your growing community. Pokémon you befriend teach Ditto their moves, which you use to shape the environment. Bulbasaur's leafage grows plants, Squirtle's water gun irrigates fields. The story is warm and genuinely touching, with a mystery about what happened to the human world layered through environmental lore. Think WALL-E vibes, not anything grim. It launched to a Metacritic score of 89 and has been one of the biggest Switch 2 hits of 2026. Resident Evil Requiem is the best game in the series in years, and it's on Switch 2 at full quality. The story takes place 28 years after the Raccoon City incident. FBI analyst Grace Ashcroft investigates a mysterious murder that leads her back to the place her mother died. Legendary agent Leon S. Kennedy is also on the case, looking into a missing cop. Their paths collide in a lore-heavy narrative that pulls threads from across the entire RE universe. The brilliant mechanic here is the split camera system. Grace plays in first person with limited ammo, stealth sections, and brutal survival horror tension. Leon plays in third person, more action-heavy, with a weapon shop and a Tetris-style inventory to manage. You switch between them as the story demands. One half terrifies you, the other lets you breathe and go loud. Newcomers get enough context to follow along. Longtime fans get heavy payoffs. "20 games that make both consoles worth owning." If even one of these made it onto your wishlist, the video did its job. Drop a comment with your personal number one. Always curious what people are actually playing. Catch you in the next one.